All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to go way back in time to an era before the country we now call Canada even existed. We're going to explore the foundational history of the peoples who first called this massive land home. And it's a story that's really built on community, on respect, and a deep, deep connection to nature.
So let's start with the most basic question of all. Long before European ships ever touched these shores, who were the people living here? What did their societies actually look like?
Well, the answer is indigenous peoples. Now, this term refers to the original inhabitants of a land. And in this case, we are talking about vibrant, complex communities that were thriving here for thousands of years before any Europeans arrived. Just think about that timeline. It's incredible.
Okay, so then everything changes. When the first European explorers show up, they're searching for a new route to Asia. And they're absolutely convinced they've found it, which led to a pretty significant geographical error.
Yeah, because they thought they were in the East Indies, they incorrectly labeled the people they met as Indians. It was a total mix-up. As you can see here, that's the historical error on one side. But on the other, you have the correct and respectful term we use today, indigenous peoples. It recognizes them as the original inhabitants, and really importantly, it covers all their distinct communities.
And this is something that's so important to get right. Indigenous peoples isn't one single group or one identity. It's actually an umbrella term that covers a whole lot of unique groups. Let's break that down a bit.
In Canada, there are three main groups of Indigenous peoples that are recognized. You have the First Nations, who are the original inhabitants of the lands south of the Arctic. Then there are the Inuit, who primarily live in the Arctic regions. And finally, the Métis, who have a really unique mixed ancestry and their own distinct culture. Each one has its own history, its own identity.
This really gives you a sense of the incredible diversity we're talking about. I mean, these are not monolithic cultures at all. We're talking about hundreds of distinct communities, each with its own language, its own spiritual beliefs, and its own social structures, all of it shaped by the specific environments they called home.
So that brings up a really interesting question, right? How did all these different communities keep their cultures alive and pass them down for millennia, especially since many didn't have written languages like we think of them today?
They did it through this incredibly vibrant cultural fabric. Art, whether it was carved in wood or woven into clothing, told stories. Storytelling itself was a sacred act. And music and ceremonies, they weren't just for entertainment. They were absolutely essential for teaching, for healing, and for marking all the important events in life.
I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. Instead of books on a shelf, all of their knowledge, their history, their beliefs, their life lessons was embedded right into these living practices. A single story could hold generations of history. A ceremony could pass down vital spiritual beliefs. It's really amazing.
And at the absolute heart of these societies was this powerful sense of community. The focus was totally on cooperation, not on competition. Resources were often shared to make sure that everyone in the group was taken care of. This idea was fundamental to their survival and to their social harmony.
So who guided these communities? The elders. And they weren't just the oldest members, no way. They were seen as the living libraries, the respected keepers of history, tradition, and wisdom. Their experience was this priceless resource which made them the natural leaders and teachers. Okay, so now let's talk about what might be the most defining characteristic of these early societies, their profound connection to the land. And this wasn't just about where they lived, it was a deeply ingrained philosophy of life.
The core belief was that humans are a part of nature, not separate from it or above it. The land wasn't something to be owned or conquered, it was a living thing, the source of all life, and it deserved the deepest respect. This worldview shaped, pretty much every aspect of their lives.
And that philosophy led directly to a powerful way of living sustainably. You can kind of break it down into three key principles. First, an incredibly deep knowledge of the land, the seasons, the plants, the animals. Second, a real commitment to taking only what was truly necessary. And third, and this one is huge, a responsibility to make sure that those resources were preserved for all the future generations to come.
And the thing is, it was a highly effective system. This traditional knowledge wasn't just some abstract idea, it was practical science. It allowed communities to meet all of their needs while at the same time maintaining the ecological balance of their homelands. It just worked.
So, let's bring it all together. Before 1600, this land was home to all these diverse and sophisticated societies, and they were all built on three powerful pillars: strong communities,
deep respect for their elders, and a truly harmonious relationship with the natural world.
And that really leaves us with a final, crucial question to think about. Knowing that these principles, community, respect, and sustainability, were the original foundation of life on this land, how does that change the way we see Canada today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.